So to get us started this morning, I'd like to ask Stephen Hayward to get us started.
Okay, well, thank you, Al. So, what's in the news? Well, three things for an opening bid. First of all, shouldn't someone say something nice about United Airlines? I mean, in these polarized times, I mean, what a great name for the one organization that's managed to unite all of America, right? As Sean Spicer and Mike put it, not even Hitler took people off airplanes after they boarded. Let's send that one in to somebody. Second item, of course, is yesterday's Trumpian bombing of Afghanistan. I mean, what is called the mother of all bombs. Is there anything more Trumpian than that? Right? It's the biggest. It's the best. Right? What's the third story? Yes, turmoil in the Trump administration. So, gee, this is news. I mean, I think we call that Monday, right? So the story you hear, so the fear of conservatives, or one of the fears of conservatives all along about Trump, is that the guy doesn't have a real settled core. He's been a liberal Democrat most of his life. He's been on all sides of all issues. And this is more a matter of personal ambition. You couldn't rely on him. So notwithstanding the fact that he assembled a cabinet that would do Calvin Coolidge proud, to the right of Ronald Reagan's first cabinet for certain, this rumbling right now that maybe Steve Bannon is on his way out, and I do hear some inside things from people I know there. I'm blacklisted in the Trump White House, by the way, because I was one of the 22 conservatives on the Against Trump issue of National Review, but they call me and tell me stuff. And so, the ascendant figure in the Trump White House is Gary Cohn, who's the chief economic guy, who's a Democrat, former president of Goldman Sachs, who, unknown to most people, was angling to be in that job for President Hillary Clinton. Isn't this interesting? And so the fear all along is that Trump would become Arnold Schwarzenegger. He would move to the left, or who knows, they'd be entirely unpredictable. And so we may be seeing the early rumblings of that. And so those are my opening thoughts on what's in the news.
Neil?
Well, that's a hard act to follow. I think you missed your career.
Two thoughts about Trump. One is, I think I'm reminded of two old statements, one from Henry Adams and one from the British ambassador to the America 100 years ago, Spring Rice. Henry Adams said, in The Education of Henry Adams, that the progression of presidents from George Washington to Ulysses S. Grant single-handedly disproved the theory of evolution. So you wonder what, and you pair that with Spring Rice. The first time he met Theodore Roosevelt, he's ushered into the Oval Office, and the president is on all fours on the floor with one of his kids. And they're playing horsey, and they're sort of gabbling around, and he keeps the ambassador waiting. And Spring Rice cabled back to London saying, "I've just discovered that the president of the United States is 6 years old." Well, now we've really got a 6-year-old, right? On the other hand, I think this should be taken in. First, he does have these extraordinary instincts. I mean, this is why he galvanized so many people. I didn't see it. I didn't get it. And that is coupled with the tweeting that Joe mentioned. How do we cover a guy who tweets like this? And a lot of people think, is this the right way a president should communicate with anybody, especially the American people? But I think it's a historical parallel here. Set aside the content of the tweets, not to mention their syntax and grammar and spelling. This does remind me a little bit. You may think this is absurd at first, but if you think about it for a while, I think there's something to it. It reminds me of Franklin Roosevelt a little bit. What was his innovation? It was the fireside talks on the radio. That was cutting straight past the media to talk to the American people. And by the way, I teach those to students. I have them read them. They're absolutely masterful. And if you've never read, if you just want to read one, read the first one from the first week in office about the bank holiday. And ask yourself, why didn't President Bush give a talk like that in September 2008? Would have helped a lot, I think. So tweeting, so radio, that was the Twitter, not exactly right, but that was the Twitter of the late 1920s, early 1930s. We didn't have TV yet, right? Too long to get in the newspapers. And it had an intimate bond between you and the commander-in-chief for the first time ever. That now we try through TV and, to varying degrees, right? And he had an instinct for that, and he was so good at it, right? Now, so yeah, the problem is you jump on every tweet he puts out when they're sort of crazy and right, all imprecise. That is a big problem. But I think we miss something that I think Trump represents an inflection point in political practice in the age of social media.
But one thing that I wanted to talk, a statement that you made about everything being socially constructed, possibly as a theory, humor, I think, totally erases that, because it is one of the things that you can't, if somebody makes you laugh, that is an involuntary thing, right? You can't like pretend it's funny. You can't be conditioned to think something's funny. It is a guttural, emotional thing. And so I think that with that statement, I think humor, it's what connects us. So you and I have already laughed with each other twice, right? We might have disagreeable things on concept, but if someone is good and authentic, and you can make them laugh, there is a place to at least like that person, and I think that is crucial as we go about where we're going.
Can I weigh in on that? This may disappoint some people. I don't know. We're going to end up close to heated agreement on this point. That satire is actually, perhaps your kind is actually a superior take on the. I mean, why does humor work for a minute? I'm sorry. I mean, this is your territory. I shouldn't do this, but it's because you instantly know without having to think about it what the disharmony is, right? I actually use this with students in the classroom. The famous test answer of someone said, "Sir Francis Drake circumcised the globe in a 100-foot clipper." Right? See? You don't have to puzzle out what's gone wrong there, right? So my complaint about alternative, I mean, that particular phrase is, I think, if you'd had, say, rival facts or additional facts or different set, maybe not so volatile, but my complaint is exactly the same as yours, which is that the treatment of facts or statistics by the news media is so appallingly superficial